They ran in fear when the humans came for them. HFY Story. Prologue. A flicker in the darkness.
The galaxy was vast and ancient, a tapestry of civilizations stretching across billions of years and countless stars. At its heart was the Senadar Dominion, an empire that claimed dominion over thousands of worlds. The Senadar, an avian-like species with sleek feathers and cold, calculating minds, had ruled unchallenged for millennia. Their fleets patrolled the trade lanes, their soldiers enforced order, and their leaders dictated the future of countless subjugated species. Humanity was not among them.
When humans first reached the stars, the Senadar dismissed them as another primitive race destined for assimilation. For decades they kept their distance, observing humanity's rapid expansion with unease. What the Senadar could not fathom was the humans' uncanny ability to adapt. They turned inhospitable worlds into thriving colonies, built fleets from the wreckage of forgotten wars, and developed technology that rivaled even the Dominion's most advanced systems. Then, humanity did the unthinkable. They refused the Senadar's offer of protection. Diplomats were sent to Earth, their words veiled threats wrapped in honeyed promises. The humans rejected them outright. The first strike came shortly after. Senadar fleets bombarded a human outpost on the edge of Federation space, reducing it to ash. The Dominion expected surrender. What they received was defiance. Humanity's response was swift and brutal. Ships once built for exploration were retrofitted with weapons, colonies fortified their defenses, and alliances were forged with neighboring races long oppressed by the Senadar. The galaxy, once silent, now buzzed with whispers of rebellion. The Senadar believed they could crush humanity, as they had crushed so many others. They were wrong. Chapter 1. The Spark of Defiance. The attack on the colony of Orion was the final straw. Orion, a thriving mining world in the Sirius system, was home to millions of humans and allied species. The Senadar descended without warning, their sleek obsidian ships blotting out the sun. Plasma beams scorched the surface, and cities crumbled under relentless bombardment. Captain Elias Voss, commander of the frigate Iron Will, had been stationed in orbit during the attack. As the Senadar fleet overwhelmed the colony's defenses, Voss ordered his crew to evacuate civilians to nearby transports. The Iron Will was not a warship, but it fought like one, weaving through the enemy formation and striking at their rear lines. "Redirect all power to the shields," Voss commanded, his voice calm despite the chaos. "Target their engines. If they can't move, they can't chase us." The frigate's railguns fired with deadly precision, disabling 2 Senadar destroyers. But the odds were impossible. The Iron Will took hit after hit, its hull buckling under the strain. When the last civilian transport escaped into hyperspace, Voss gave the order to retreat. The colony was lost, but the Senadar's victory was not absolute. The survivors carried with them stories of the Iron Will's defiance, stories that would spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Chapter 2. Rallying the Fallen.
News of Orion's destruction reached Earth within hours. The United Colonies of Humanity convened an emergency summit. Its leaders gathered in a subterranean chamber beneath the city of New Geneva. Holograms of shattered cities and fleeing transports flickered above the table, casting long shadows across grim faces.
President Lyra Callan addressed the assembly. "The Senadar believe they've silenced us. They think we'll kneel like so many others. But humanity doesn't kneel. We rise."
Admiral Ardin, a veteran of the early frontier wars, stood beside her. His presence alone inspired confidence. "The Senadar rely on fear to maintain control," he said. "But fear is a weapon that cuts both ways. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget."
Across human-controlled space, the call to arms was answered. Shipyards in the asteroid belt shifted to wartime production, their factories churning out warships bristling with weapons. Engineers on Luna developed advanced shield systems and railgun technologies, while scientists on Mars perfected experimental plasma disruptors capable of piercing even the Senadar's formidable defenses. Meanwhile, alliances were forged with other subjugated species. The Duroc, a reptilian race known for their brute strength, pledged their warriors. The Lithari, an insectoid hive mind, offered their fleet of swarming corvettes. Together, they formed a coalition united not by politics, but by survival. Chapter 3: The First Strike. The coalition's first target was Sorin Station, a critical Senadar logistics hub orbiting a dying star. The station served as a waypoint for Dominion fleets. Its destruction would cripple their supply lines in the sector. Admiral Ardin led the assault, his fleet emerging from hyperspace with surgical precision. The Eternal Flame, a human dreadnought armed with plasma disruptors, fired the opening salvo. Its beams of blue-white energy lanced through the station's shields, carving deep into its hull. "Focus, fire on the docking bays," Ardin ordered. "We'll cut off their reinforcements." The coalition fleet moved as one. Duroc warships, their massive hulls reinforced with salvaged metals, rammed into Senadar cruisers, disabling them before unleashing devastating broadsides. Lithari corvettes swarmed the battlefield, their smaller size allowing them to evade enemy fire while targeting critical systems. On the station, Captain Voss led a boarding party through the chaotic corridors. The Senadar fought with ruthless efficiency, their soldiers wielding plasma rifles that could melt steel. But the humans and their allies fought harder. Grenades detonated in blinding flashes, and rail rifles tore through enemy ranks. When the station's reactor began to overload, Voss gave the signal to retreat. As the coalition ships jumped to hyperspace, Sorin Station exploded in a fiery cascade, its destruction visible from light years away. Chapter 4: The Empire Fractures. The fall of Sorin Station sent shockwaves through the Senadar Dominion. For the first time in centuries, their fleets had been defeated. The Empire's vassal races, long kept in line through fear, began to waver. On the mining world of Calthis, the enslaved Thrannies revolted, overthrowing their Senadar overseers and declaring independence. The Dominion responded with brutality, deploying fleets to crush the uprisings, but their resources were stretched thin, and for every rebellion they quelled, 2 more arose. Humanity's coalition fanned the flames, providing weapons and supplies to rebel forces across Dominion space.
The Battle of Eridon Ridge became a rallying cry for the rebellion. There, a Senadar fleet attempted to blockade a vital trade route, only to be ambushed by the coalition. Human warships, using the asteroid fields as cover, launched hit-and-run attacks that decimated the Senadar formation.
Admiral Ardin's voice echoed across the comms. "They wanted to break us. Now we'll break them."
Chapter 5: The Final Push.
The Coalition's fleet gathered in the shadow of the Inari Nebula, a natural formation that hid them from Senadar sensors. Over 500 ships floated in the void, an eclectic mix of humanity's angular warships, Duroc juggernauts, and Lithari swarms. Each vessel bore the scars of previous battles, a testament to the resilience and unity forged in the fires of war. Admiral Ardin stood on the bridge of the Eternal Flame, addressing the Coalition's commanders via a holographic comlink. The room was quiet, save for the hum of the ship's systems. On the screen, the leaders of allied races watched intently. General Varric of the Duroc, his reptilian face fierce with determination. Hive Queen Arana of the Lithari, her multifaceted eyes shimmering, and Ambassador Leon of the Thranis, representing the rebellion's newest ally. "Our mission is clear," Ardin began. "Alpha Prime is their heart, their fortress, and their symbol of power. If we take it, the Dominion falls. But this will not be easy. Their orbital defenses are vast, and their fleet outnumbers us 2-1. General Varick's gravelly voice cut through the tension. "They may outnumber us, but they cannot outfight us. We've seen what they are made of, and we've broken them before." Ardin nodded. "Indeed. Our strategy is to divide their attention. The Durok and Lithari will flank their orbital platforms, targeting power nodes and creating breaches. Humanity's main fleet will engage their ships directly, drawing them into the nebula. Meanwhile, a ground force led by Captain Elias Voss will land near the planetary shields." The leaders exchanged glances. Ardin's plan was bold, audacious even, but it was their best chance. With unified resolve, the coalition prepared for the assault. When the fleet emerged from the nebula, chaos erupted. The Senadar defenders scrambled to respond, their pristine formation breaking under the sudden onslaught. Human dreadnoughts fired coordinated salvos, their railguns tearing through enemy cruisers. Durak warbarges, massive and heavily armoured, rammed into Senadar destroyers, crushing them under their weight, before unleashing broadsides. Hive Queen Arana's Lithari corvettes swarmed the battlefield, darting between larger ships and targeting their exposed engines. Their precision strikes caused explosions that rippled through the Senadar ranks, sowing confusion. From the bridge of the eternal flame, Ardin directed the battle with surgical precision. "Push them toward the nebula. Use the interference to our advantage." The nebula's ionized gas wreaked havoc on the Senadar's advanced targeting systems, leveling the playing field. Human fighters, guided by their pilots' instincts rather than sensors, darted through the fog, picking off vulnerable targets. The once unstoppable Senadar fleet faltered, their cohesion crumbling under the coalition's relentless assault. Chapter 6: Humanity's Triumph. As the orbital battle raged, the ground invasion began. Captain Elias Voss led the coalition's ground forces, a combined army of human marines, Durok warriors, and Lithari drones. Their landing craft descended through Alpha Prime's atmosphere, dodging anti-air fire from the planet's surface.
The Imperial Citadel loomed ahead, a towering structure of black stone and shimmering energy fields. Surrounding it were the Senadar's elite ground forces, clad in silver armor and wielding plasma lances. The Citadel's planetary shields protected the city, making it impervious to orbital strikes. Voss's mission was to bring those shields down. The landing was chaotic. Dropships dodged enemy fire as they touched down in the capital's outskirts, disgorging troops into the fray. The air was thick with smoke and the screams of battle. Voss rallied his forces, his voice cutting through the chaos.
"Move forward. We take the shield generator, or we die trying." The coalition advanced through the ruined streets, each block a deadly maze of Senadar ambushes. Durok warriors charged into enemy lines, their massive blades cleaving through armor. Lithari drones flitted overhead, firing precision energy bolts that disoriented the defenders. Human marines armed with rail rifles and EMP grenades provided covering fire as they pushed toward the citadel. Inside the city's control district, Voss and his team breached the shield generator facility. The battle inside was brutal, with Senadar soldiers defending every corridor. Grenades detonated in dazzling flashes, and the roar of gunfire echoed through the halls. Voss himself engaged a Senadar commander in close combat, using a plasma blade to parry the alien strikes before delivering a killing blow. Oh, when the generator was destroyed, the planetary shields flickered and collapsed. Above, the coalition fleet unleashed its full arsenal. Plasma beams and railgun slugs rained down on the Citadel's defenses, reducing them to rubble. On the ground, Voss's forces regrouped for the final assault on the Citadel. The Senadar's elite guard made a desperate stand, but they were no match for the coalition's combined might. As the gates fell, Voss led the charge into the throne room. Emperor Zarian, the ruler of the Dominion, stood defiant. His ornate armor gleamed, and his talons clutched a ceremonial plasma staff. "You think this changes anything?" he sneered. "The Dominion will rise again." Voss leveled his weapon. Not this time. With a single shot, the Emperor fell and the battle was over. Epilogue: A New Dawn. The fall of Althor Prime marked the end of the Senadar Dominion. Their fleets were scattered, their territories liberated, and their symbols of power reduced to ash. Across the galaxy, oppressed species celebrated their freedom, their cheers echoing through the stars. On Earth, President Lyra Callan addressed the galaxy from the United Colonies Assembly. Her voice carried a mix of triumph and resolve. This victory is not just humanity's. It belongs to every species that dared to stand against tyranny. Together, we have proven that even the mightiest empires can fall. But our work is not done. We must build a future where freedom, not fear, reigns. The Coalition, now a formal alliance of free worlds, began the monumental task of rebuilding. The Duroc returned to their ancestral worlds, the Lithari expanded their hive networks, and humanity offered its resources and expertise to aid in reconstruction. Admiral Ardin, now a legend among the stars, stood aboard the Eternal Flame. The bridge was quiet as he gazed at the galaxy's endless expanse. "They ran when we came for them," he said, his voice filled with quiet pride. "And we'll keep chasing until every shadow of tyranny is gone." Captain Elias Voss returned to Orion, the colony that had sparked the war. Its cities lay in ruins, but its spirit remained unbroken. Voss oversaw the rebuilding efforts, his presence a reminder of humanity's resilience. As he stood among the construction crews, he whispered a promise. Never again. The galaxy, once dominated by fear, now shone with the light of unity and hope. Humanity had risen from the ashes, not as conquerors, but as leaders in a new era of freedom.